All right, so you're here with us because you like to get right to it, right? You want to get right to the point and really understand what's going on, and we're all about that.
Yeah, that's what we do here.
We dive deep, and today we're diving deep into something really, well, pretty dark, actually.
It is.
It's a pretty dark event from San Antonio history, the 1979 parade shooting.
Yeah, this is a mass shooting that happened on April 27, 1979, during something called the Battle of Flowers Parade.
Okay.
It's, as we're going to see, it's something that had a really, really big impact on the community.
So our goal today is to really understand the core facts and the context around this tragedy.
Yeah.
And we've pulled together a ton of different sources. News reports from the time, of course, some from later anniversaries, a book that offers a little analytical perspective on what might have been going on with this guy, and even some archived video footage.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Let's jump in.
Let's get into it.
Let's start with the attack itself and kind of the when and the where.
Okay.
So this happened at the intersection of Broadway and Grayson Street in San Antonio.
I like it.
If you're the kind of person who likes specifics, we're talking about 29.4435 degrees north latitude, 98.4764 degrees west longitude.
I'm that kind of person.
There you go.
Thank you.
This was the area where the Battle of Flowers Parade was about to start.
So who is the guy responsible for this?
So the man responsible for this was a guy named Ira Atterbury.
Okay.
He was 64 years old at the time and a World War II veteran.
Okay.
And what's really crazy is how he did it.
Okay, how did this all go down?
He had his RV parked right there at that corner,
Okay.
and the RV was full of guns.
Oh, wow.
14 firearms, to be exact,
Oh, my gosh.
and tons of ammunition.
Wow.
And he started shooting from inside the RV
Mm-hmm.
into the crowds that were there, waiting for the parade to start.
So these people were just standing around having a good time, and this guy just starts shooting from his RV.
Pretty much.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, people described it as him firing at anything that moved
Oh, my God.
for a solid half hour.
Oh, my gosh.
And as he's doing this, he's shouting, "Traitors, traitors, traitors."
Traitors.
Yeah, you can only imagine the terror and the panic in that moment.
I mean, how do you even react to that? What do you do?
Right. I mean, it's just chaos.
So how did it end? What happened?
So after that half hour of shooting, it turned into a 90-minute standoff with police.
Okay.
The police obviously responded immediately, and they brought in a SWAT team.
Okay.
During that standoff, Atterbury was actually injured by police gunfire,
Okay.
but in the end, his rifle jammed,
Okay.
and he ended up taking his own life.
Oh, wow.
It's a pretty grim end to a grim situation.
So how many casualties were there?
2 innocent people lost their lives, in addition to Atterbury himself, and 55 others were injured.
55.
Yeah. It's important to note that at least 30 of those 55 were actually shot,
Okay.
while others were hurt in the rush to escape.
Yeah, of course.
You know, people were running, trampling over each other, just trying to get away.
Yeah, so you can see how it would be really easy to get hurt even if you weren't shot.
Exactly.
And it seems like this had a really big impact on the city.
Oh, yeah, a huge impact.
On the 40th anniversary of the shooting, KS8 called it the worst mass shooting in San Antonio's history up to that point.
Wow.
So it really stuck with people.
Yeah, they actually gave this guy a nickname, Atterbury,
What's that?
the Fiesta Sniper.
Wow. Okay, so let's try to learn a little bit more about this guy, about Ira Atterbury. I mean, we know that he was 64 years old, a WWII veteran. What else can we find out about his background?
So he was born in 1915,
Okay.
grew up on a farm in Poplar Bluff, Missouri,
Okay.
one of 9 children.
Wow. Okay.
And before the shooting, following his service in the U.S. Coast Guard during the war, he worked as an independent truck driver.
Okay, so pretty normal life, it sounds like, up to that point.
Yeah, seemingly so. But there is this one event in his past
Okay.
that seems to have had a pretty big impact on him.
What was that?
15 years before the shooting, he was involved in a traffic accident where 2 people died.
Oh, wow.
It's really important to note that he was not responsible for the accident.
Mm.
But his brothers say that this event really messed him up mentally.
Really?
They said that he started to believe that he was being persecuted by the police, even though he had nothing to do with the accident.
Wow. So even though it wasn't his fault, it sounds like the trauma of that event really stayed with him.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that trauma can manifest in all sorts of ways.
Yeah, definitely. So what else do we know about his life leading up to the shooting?
Well, he didn't finish high school,
Okay.
and he was receiving disability pension payments, but that was for an unrelated heart condition.
Okay, so not from mental health issues.
Right.
And he had been living in San Antonio for over a year before the shooting.
Yeah, he lived in a trailer park for a while, but he was evicted because of his paranoid behavior.
So there were signs that something wasn't right.
Yes, definitely.
And what about his mental state right before the attack?
Well, reportedly, he was high on PCP during the
Yeah.
shooting,
Okay.
and some of his colleagues had seen him having hallucinations and talking about being harassed by law enforcement.
So his grip on reality was slipping.
Yeah, it seems like it. And it wasn't just the
Oh.
police. He also had problems with banks, and he felt like he was being treated unfairly by the Department of Veterans Affairs.
Okay, so he had this broad sense of being wronged by different institutions.
Exactly. And even his landlord said he was a quiet loner.
Really?
Yeah, and that he always paid his rent in cash because he didn't trust banks.
Wow. So this distrust was pretty deep.
Yeah, it really was.
And his neighbors didn't really take his paranoia seriously.
No, they just thought he was a little eccentric.
It's sad because it's like nobody knew how to help him.
Yeah, it's a reminder that it's hard to know when someone's really struggling.
Yeah, for sure. So what happened after the shooting?
Well, there were calls for more police resources,
Incense.
especially given how unexpected this attack was. And one of the survivors actually sued Atterbury's estate.
Okay.
And one of the police officers who responded to the shooting said that their response was unexpected, unplanned, and unrehearsed.
Wow. I mean, I guess this kind of thing wasn't really on anyone's radar back then.
Right. It was a different time.
So are there any theories about what motivated Atterbury to do this?
Yeah, there's a writer and former FBI profiler named John E. Douglas.
Okay.
And he wrote a book in 2012 called The Anatomy of Motive.
Oh.
And he compared Atterbury to Charles Whitman.
The guy who did the UT tower shooting?
That's the one.
What made him compare those two?
Well, he said they both fit the profile of a paranoid assassin personality.
What does that mean?
Well, basically, Douglas thinks that Atterbury wasn't targeting the parade specifically.
Oh, right.
He thinks that Atterbury was just filled with rage.
Oh, okay.
And he needed to lash out at someone, anyone.
Wow, that's scary.
It is. And Douglas also pointed out that Atterbury didn't have a job.
Okay.
And that, combined with his paranoia, might have made him feel even more isolated and angry.
Yeah, I can see how that would happen.
So it's like all these factors, his past trauma, his mental health, his lack of work,
Right.
they all came together in this really tragic way.
So to recap, we've looked at how the attack happened.
Yep.
We've learned about Ira Atterbury's life and what might have led him to do this.
We have.
And we've talked about the aftermath of the shooting.
It's a really sad story all around.
It is a really, really sad story.
Yeah.
So here's something to think about. You know, we've talked about Ira Atterbury's life, his struggles, his paranoia.
Right.
What does this event, even decades later, tell us about how personal problems can turn into public tragedies?
Yeah, it's a good question.
It makes you think about how someone's individual pain can spill out into the world and hurt so many other people.
It really does.
And how important it is to pay attention to the people around us and to try to understand what they're going through,
Absolutely.
even if it's difficult or uncomfortable.
Yeah, because you never know what someone might be dealing with.
And you never know how their struggles might manifest.
Exactly.
Well, on that note, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into a really difficult topic.
Thanks for having me.
And until next time, keep asking questions, keep learning, and keep diving deep.
We'll see you then.